All right, let's start with a few housekeeping notes. To help this meeting runs smoothly, please mute your mic. Whenever it is possible, please direct your questions to the chat box. We will monitor chat box and make time to address questions. And if you prefer to ask a question verbally, please wait until the designated question slide after each session. We will be tracking attendance. This meeting is required for new contractors who wants to get on the list, so please listen up towards the end of the meeting. We will give you a cue to sign in with your name and your company name in the chat box. This is how we record that you were present and get you moving along your registration process. And wait times, we are currently at about 3 weeks from the time you submit the application till LOI. Inspections are 1 to 2 weeks wait time now, and final documentation review, coming the final payment to your customers, is about 3 weeks as well. Some upcoming meetings. The next general meeting is scheduled for Thursday, July 21st. All contractors, whether you are trying to get on the list or already on the list, are required to attend our general quarterly meeting. The next technical training meeting is scheduled for Thursday, August 18th, and is mandatory for the new contractors to get on the list and if you hired new technical employees. We do recommend those folks to attend a technical training meeting as it's a source of information and code updates. If this is your first meeting that you are attending, then you will be required to attend the administrative training meeting, and that's scheduled for Thursday, September 15th. As I mentioned earlier, please note that we record this meeting and we'll send out the presentation to all attendees. And we have an announcement for you. We want to congratulate Mary on this amazing opportunity. She's leaving Austin Energy and joining Smart Electric Power Alliance. Mary, although our team won't be the same without you, you are going to shine in your new role, and we will miss you. All right, registration requirements. So what do you need to do to become a participating contractor? A lot of you are here because you want to register and become a participating contractor. So let's review the process. First, you need to register with the City of Austin as a vendor to become a participating contractor, which allows you to participate in our program and also allows you to bid on city's project. The next step is to apply for our rebated program. So there are some documents that you will be reviewing, such as Solar Contractor Handbook, Code of Conduct, and those are very important documents that lay out the expectations that we have for contractors and also the compliance guidelines. Then there is a TDLR electrical contractor license, which verify to make sure that you are allowed to operate in the state as an electrical contractor. And there are various insurances that you will see when go online to register. There is also liability workers' compensation and automobile insurance. So you will submit all of those documents, and after that happens, then the next step is to attend the required meeting. As I mentioned earlier, anyone who wants to be a participating contractor must attend at least one technical and one administrative meeting before become a participating contractor. The dates for those meetings are listed here, and in this meeting, we will talk about FACTA Acknowledgement Form, and if you're ready to be in this program after this administrative meeting, please reach out to us and we will get you set up with an acknowledgement form to just confirm that you've been trained by attending this meeting. All right, how to maintain participating contractor status. So just make sure to keep your insurance document current and sign off any new program documents from time to time. We will update our various compliance documents or forms. Every quarter, you need to send a representative to the general contractor meeting. Make sure you are keeping consistent project in the pipeline and adhering to the compliance standards. All right, Fair and Accurate Credit Transactions Act, or FACTA. What is FACTA? FACTA is a federal act mandating businesses and individuals to take appropriate security measures to protect customer information against unauthorized access to or use of the information, and it provides protection against identity theft and focuses on how we handle customers' information. So what are the requirements and security measures? What are some example of appropriate security measures? That would be truncating credit and debit cards numbers, like having a part of the number showing or limiting the access of customers' information to authorized employees. Also communicating the importance of FACTA and the responsibility of the compliance requirements. So this is not just about managers, it's making sure that there is a culture of safety and security within the workforce and create an environment that data is safe from prying eyes. So who's responsible? Anybody is responsible. Any record about an individual, whether it's in paper, electronic, or another form, including the customer's name, social security numbers, driver's license number, phone numbers, physical address, and email addresses. And who are responsible? Everybody is responsible. So Austin Energy as a company is responsible. Our vendors, our contractors, and everyone who is able to participate in our program is responsible. So after this meeting, please reach out to us and we will send out the FACTA form that is the state of acknowledgement to you. Any questions so far? Awesome. So I pass the mic to David.
All right, thank you, Nafi. In the next few slides, we'll just go over some hot tips on how to maintain compliance with some of our major rebate program rules. So this first slide talks about some of the key categories that you'll want to be aware of as you interact with customers and work with them on setting up solar projects. Just note that though we do not regularly review solar proposals, if we have a customer bring one to us with any concerns about the information they've been provided and whether it's accurate, we do review those. And so we'll be looking out for instance, these categories below. So one of the key things to keep in mind as you're communicating with customers is how we credit or how we compensate customers for their solar production. So please remember that we do not use net metering in Austin Energy's territory. We use the value of solar rate. So rather than crediting customers based on the excess energy they're sending from their solar to the grid, the value under the value of solar, we bill customers for all of their kilowatt hour consumption, whether it comes from the grid or from solar, and then we credit customers back for all kilowatt hours that their solar production, that their solar system generates. So it's a key distinction. Also make sure that you do not tell customers that we'll send a check or any other or anything like that for their solar credits. We only do on-bill credits for the value of solar, so it reduces the overall electric charges on their bill. We don't have another method of paying them for that solar generation. So just make sure you're explaining that rate regime particularly clearly to customers. And please don't use language that guarantees any particular value of solar rate. The value of solar is subject to change with each evaluation of Austin Energy's rates, including the rate case that's ongoing right now. So just make sure that they're not guaranteed any one specific rate for the lifetime of their solar system. Utility rate escalator, this is another category where you want to be clear and accurate in communications with customers. So the rate escalator should be 2%. That's the range of rate increase that Austin Energy is held to each time. That's the rate escalator set for Austin Energy by the Public Utility Commission of Texas. So make sure you're not including a rate escalator above 2% in your proposals to customers. When it comes to the federal investment tax credit, you'll want to make sure that in the calculation of that tax credit that you're not including any sort of discounts and incentives that are not eligible for inclusion in ITC calculation. And make sure that you're encouraging customers to seek advice about the investment tax credit from a tax professional. You never want to guarantee the customer's eligibility for the tax credit, so that they should have a tax professional weigh in if they have any questions about how the tax credit will be applied to them in their particular financial situation. All right, next slide, please. Another important compliance category at the front end of each rebate application involves customer signatures. So there are a couple different documents that the customer will sign throughout the rebate application process. In particular, the customer agreement form, which gets submitted to us up front when you first submit the rebate application, and then also the final invoice that is provided to us later on after the system is installed. So just please note a few things here. We do have a way of knowing when documents are being altered after they've been signed. So, one key thing is that once the customer has signed the form, that you should not be going in and changing any information in that document after the customer has signed it without getting a new customer signature. So anytime a customer is signed and you've changed any information therein afterward, just make sure the customer is re-signing, signing their acknowledgement of those changes. And make sure that you are using a verifiable tracking method, for instance, DocuSign, for any electronic signatures. For instance, DocuSign gives us a very handy verification tool, blue ribbon, that tells us that all signatures can be validated. That's one way of telling us whether there are any invalid signatures on that document. So just make sure that you're not having the customer sign a document before you fill in the information as well. That's kind of comes hand in hand with the with not altering the information after the customer has signed the document. And you can get handwritten signatures. That is still allowed, handwritten or digital. Just make sure that you're not backdating any forms. Obviously, make sure the customer is clearly reviewing all the information that they're attesting to before they sign the document. And remember that copy-pasted signatures equal electronic signatures. Try not to copy-paste signatures when possible either. And note that more information is available in the appendix section of this presentation about how to save and upload signed forms. We'll be sending out a copy of this presentation afterwards. All right, next slide, please. So another important note here involves the companies that you work with to get your leads. So just protect yourself from shady marketing, as we warn you here. Note that not all marketing companies are the same, and you'll want to be well aware of what their marketing practices and strategies are. You'll want to be aware of the specific information that they are communicating to potential customers before you start working with them, just to make sure that you are in compliance with our advertising rules that we have here for the rebate program and in general at Austin Energy. So a few steps that we recommend you take here is to first familiarize yourself with our advertising rules, which are listed in our Code of Conduct document toward the back of that document. Make sure you're choosing companies that are transparent about their marketing practices and about the content of their advertising. And in line with that, we recommend you provide a list of potentially misleading statements to the company that you're going to work with to generate leads for you. There's a few examples here on the bottom of this slide as to misleading statements that we've seen before in advertisements, and make sure not to have any of this included in ad content with anyone that you're working with. So for instance, if anyone is promising free solar, that's a no-go. Making money from solar power. So your customers can reduce the electric charges on their bill through their solar generation, but they're never going to be able to cash that out or, quote unquote, make money from their solar power through that. They'll be getting on-bill credits for that solar generation. Net metering in Austin, remember we use the value of solar, so anytime net metering is specified for our service territory in ads, that would be false. And also false, there's no statewide rebates for solar, so just make sure your ads or that the lead generators ads are not including any sorts of statements like this. And make sure that you review the ads before they are sent out once you've provided that list of misleading statements to the company as well. And it's also a good idea, if you can, to negotiate terms of payment with that company that are based on their ad content, so that the compensation they receive is tied to the quality and accuracy of the ads they're putting out there. All right. I think that concludes the compliance section. Well, actually, that does not conclude the compliance section, but I will turn this next slide over to Valerie to talk more about our shade analysis requirements.
David, good morning, everybody. I will round out with the last slide about compliance this morning. As we are tasked with responsibly using city dollars to promote solar, we are trying to make sure that the systems that we are supporting, that they are producing an adequate amount of electricity. So we've drawn the line at 75% total solar resource fraction. What this means to you guys as you are looking at customers to take on and projects to submit for our rebate program is you're absolutely fine to use Aurora or other shading tools that work off of satellite imagery in your sales process. Every once in a while, though, we're going to come across a project that is maybe heavily shaded, or where even you guys have identified that the production capabilities of the system is 75% less than the optimal production values we would expect for Austin. And that's what that total solar resource fraction is. So it's only getting about 75% of what it could be doing. In those cases, we may request a shade analysis from you all. And if we do, then the requirements for that are an on-site shade analysis. So here on this photo, you have an old school Pathfinder there with someone taking a photo. If we request these analyses, then what we're looking for is a layout that displays where each measurement that you took was taken, or if you have a drone, you need to show the flight path and mark any object on the map which may have been removed. You need to make sure that the settings for the tilts and azimuths for the shade report also match what you've entered in the EECP, so that we're getting the same results there. You need to provide the shade access and total solar resource fraction measurement for each location that you take a photo of or that you survey. We recommend the corners of each array at minimum. The total solar average for the entire roof should be presented in numerical form there. And then to follow through providing the kilowatt hour production of the system that, that makes sense for the total solar resource fraction. And, the whole point of this, of course, is one, to make sure we're not incentivizing shaded systems, and two, to make sure that the projects that go through our process have adequate production estimates for the customers, right? So if it's a heavily shaded system, we expect the customer to see that impact on the estimate that you guys give to them. So to avoid a warning, please do all of the above. That total solar resource fraction should be above 75%, or else we'll deny it a rebate. And we need those shade analyses within 10 business days. So that rounds out the compliance section. I think the next slide is for questions, and I want to open it up if anyone has questions about anything compliance related. And Andrew, I see your comment. A built-in buffer if you use Aurora. Oh yeah, just for your sales teams. Yeah, it's true. If you can tell your sales guys, hey, if it's close, maybe dial that in a little bit before you guys submit it across the line. Thank you for that. Yeah. So next we'll talk about the day in the life of a solar project. Every place that you guys are getting rebates from probably has a little bit different of a process. So we're going to cover ours in 2 slides here, very high level. So for rebated projects, the first step is the rebate application. You'll do that through EECP. Nafi will take you through the tour of that in a minute here, but that's our energy efficiency collaboration platform. And that's where we'll keep track of the process of your rebated system here. In order to apply for residential projects, you'll need that solar rebate confirmation number. Your customers should be giving that to you after they take our education course and quiz. And we have a few other documents required, which Nafi will cover in her section. Once the rebate has been accepted and we've issued our confirmation for funding, the next step will be that permitting process for y'all. So you'll go to Austin Build and Connect. Just want to be really clear, that is not our department. David is our contact guy for ABC. You can definitely talk to him through SolarAt if you have any questions. But this part is with the City of Austin. It's where you'll get your auxiliary power electrical permit, which is required for every solar installation. There's also the distributed generation planning application form. We have these forms on the Austin Energy website, and I believe in EECP as well. Moving on to the installation phase, that's obviously the part where you guys are doing your work. We do highly recommend, if you need a meter variance, meaning that the solar meter is not going to be within sight of the electric meter. I'll back up there real quickly and also say that any solar system within the Austin Energy territory will get a PV meter. So we have your regular revenue, we call it a revenue meter, but your regular home meter or commercial meter, and then you'll also get a special solar meter or PV meter that monitors the solar production. So if that is in an unusual space, you'll also need to request a meter variance. Moving on to the next slide. Then the next step that we would have here is inspections. For the inspections, David has set up a really smart collaboration platform through Smartsheet. So instead of requesting the inspection through EECP, as we used to do, you'll now do that through a web form that's located on our website. Definitely make sure that when you do that, your system is installed, you've QA'd it, made sure that everything is up to code, and that any permits that you have are open and paid in full. Also note that your electrical service upgrade needs to be completed and finalized before your solar inspection can be finalized. And then next comes our metering. So it's kind of a multi-step process. This can be not necessarily contentious, but it's just another couple extra steps at the end of the process here, that it helps if your customers also understand that after we do our inspection, our inspectors do not turn your system on. They do not put the solar meter in, but later the city will come by. They will, within 2 weeks, they'll drop a solar meter. And then you can come by, the contractor that is, can come by and turn the system back on. So there's a little bit of a process there. Once that meter is in and you guys have the system on, our solar billing starts automatically, and things can move on. That's our closeout section. So that wraps up the general process. Any questions about that? Excellent. I'll move next to talking about why we're doing all of this. So let's go to the fun part. We'll talk about solar bill credits and rebates. So through our rebate program, we offer rebates and incentives. That's on that bottom half there. And then the solar bill credits, which David mentioned, are the value of solar bill credits. Really important. So we're going to drive it home a lot. This is not net metering. And if you have net metering in your sales docs, or if you're using that language to talk to your customers, please get out of the habit for Austin Energy customers. Value of solar is a mechanism to help, or a system that we're used to credit our solar customers for their solar. It really sidesteps some of the pitfalls that net metering has. So we're really proud of it, and it can avoid some of the problems that they're having in California and other locations, right? So value of solar comes to your customers as solar bill credits. So they're monthly on-bill credits for generation. They are based on our avoided cost rate and an environmental benefit adder that is our value of solar rate. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. We say it's decoupled from consumption. And to break that down a little bit, and to go further into how it's not net metering. The idea of net metering is that the solar is consumed behind the utility meter, and then that net meter just sees, what's delivered and what's received, and that's how it's billed. In this case, we've decoupled solar from that. That's why we have 2 meters. That PV meter will record all of the solar energy production right off the roof and then credits the customer at that value of solar rate. So they are getting credited for a kilowatt hour of solar production at a single value of solar rate. At that point, they basically sold it to us. And then as they consume energy either from the grid or from the solar system, we've now paid them for, then they're billed at our tiered rate. We have a tiered rate structure where if you use less energy, you're charged less in these 500 kilowatt hour tiers. That's really beneficial for your average homeowner. And it is an important distinction. For the net metering contention, contentious arguments there, none of our customers are sidestepping their share of paying the overall bill burden. They're still paying their full bill, but they're also getting credited separately as solar producers. Also very important to note, we don't have any fees for being a solar customer. So there's no added fees, but they're also not sidestepping their bill. So value of solar goes to both residential and commercial customers. And then we also have through this program, and this is why when we talk about the forms that need to be signed and going through EECP, that's to get the rebates and solar incentives. So we have separated the solar incentives that we give into 3 different programs, one for residential, one for multifamily. It's a capacity-based incentive. If you see CBI, that's capacity-based incentive, meaning it depends on the size of the system and it's paid as an upfront rebate. And then we have commercial rebates that are both capacity-based and performance-based. So performance-based means it's paid out on the kilowatt hour production. We'll dive into that. We're going to look at it a couple different ways. Next slide. Thank you. So this slide is comprised of what can be solar bill credits. So any sort of credit that your customer is going to see on their bill. First and foremost is value of solar. Anybody that has a solar system has that PV meter that we talked about. It's a little bit of an extra process. And then they get the value of solar rate credited to their bill. For residential customers, it's 9.7 cents per kilowatt hour. For commercial customers, it can be 6.7 cents for systems under a megawatt and 4.7 cents for over megawatt systems. And then, yes, there is, thanks, Eli. There is a little bit of a difference between commercial incentives and residential. They all involve reading over our guidelines, which are available in ECP, and they all involve having the customer sign a CAF. The rebate process isn't that different. The permitting process is probably a little bit more different. So we'll get to that as we go down on the slide. Go further down on the slides, and then. The only other customer class that may see credit on their bill for solar, this is ongoing bill payments or bill credits, is the commercial PBI, so those performance-based customers. So we offer that for larger commercial systems. So if the solar system you're installing is above, is up to 400 kilowatts, AC, then they can get a 9 cent per kilowatt hour credit. It's based on that monthly production, and it's paid for the first 5 years of the system if they successfully make it through a rebate program. For larger systems, for 400 up to a megawatt, they get a 7 cent performance-based credit, and then if they're over a megawatt, they get 5 cents per kilowatt hour that they produce, given as a monthly bill credit. And so that kind of sums up the sort of credits that they would see on their bill. As David mentioned to you, the value of solar rate, it is subject to change. We are going through a rate case, so the methodology for how we determine this, these numbers may shift a little bit. The intention of it, of course, is to compensate customers for the avoided cost of our not having to make generation, and then also acknowledge the social benefit of having, fossil fuel free green energy being produced locally. Let's go, and of course, everything is subject to change. Let's go to the next slide. So residential rebates, the next 3 slides kind of break the rebates up into those categories that I talked about. For residential solar systems, instead of offering a performance-based credit, we just offer an upfront incentive. So if you are an installer here today looking at serving residential customers, the current residential, like single-family home rebate is $2,500. We pay that as a one-time check once the application, is successfully processed and the homeowner gets their meter, as you saw on the day of the life. It's not based on, so to be clear, it's a flat rebate. It's not based on system size. We do have a minimum system size of 3 kW DC. If your system is smaller than that, then it is not eligible for rebate. And then on the multifamily, so if you have multiple residential units under one roof, the systems can be smaller than 3 kW. In this case, it's we'll do a per watt rebate. So smaller systems will get less, larger systems will get more. We also have a bonus incentive for nonprofits, so they get $1 per watt, whereas our regular multifamily customers will get 60 cents per watt. This is also paid out as a one-time check. And both of these rebates are paid to the customer and applicant. These are not checks that go to the installer. Let's get to the next slide. So talking a little bit about commercial incentives, because of the wide range of commercial customers that we have, we offer you a complicated commercial incentive program. The great thing about this is we hope to have a little bit for everybody. So to encourage smaller businesses that may, finance systems differently than larger businesses, we have a special carve out for nonprofits and for our small solar system with a capacity-based incentive. That's CDI. So in this case, we'll be paying them a check after they successfully, go through the rebate process and the final inspection. And the nonprofits, again, will get $1 per watt up to 400 kilowatts. They can install larger systems. We just cap, we'll cap the rebate at that. And then the smaller systems, meaning under 75 kW AC, they can get 60 cents per watt rebate. This, again, one-time check. And it depends on the size of the system. Now, as soon as you get above 75 kilowatts AC, then you're no longer eligible for the CBI. You would apply for the performance-based PBI, and we kind of covered that earlier. We just, since this is the fun part of our program, we have a couple slides covering it in a couple different ways. So just to be really clear, though, smaller commercial systems can get an upfront incentive. Once you cross that 75 kWAC, then you're looking at a totally different model with a 5-year performance-based incentive where they're paid on bill for their production. And that is in addition to the value of solar. So people always ask, is it one or the other? It is both. Let's go to the next slide. All right, that got us through our rebates and incentives. Again, that's the fun part. I guess I could have made that more fun. That's the fun part of this presentation. With no questions there, yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about how to apply for the incentives that we offer. So we do have some paperwork that's involved. Specifically, our guidelines and customer agreement form. The intention is that both contractors and customers should read our guidelines, and then customers sign the customer agreement form. The purpose of the program guidelines are to make sure that y'all are aware of what requirements we have, things like the total solar resource fraction, that systems are producing, that they're on healthy roofs, that sort of thing. Eligibility and funding, so who can get the rebate, what our participating contractors need to do to be in line. Please do look over our guidelines and make sure all those things sit well with you. What the installation requirements are, a lot of that is covered in the distributed generation interconnection guide as well. And then the required documentation, which is typically for our rebate program purposes, a layout, invoice, and customer agreement form, and contract for commercial entities. And then there are different required documentation for getting the permitting. But we are just the rebate department, so we're talking to you primarily today about what you need to do to get the rebate. For the customer agreement form, the purpose of this is to make sure that you and the customer are on page, on the same page about the details of the system, and knowledge of our program. One thing that this slide deck doesn't mention, but I'm going to plug in here, is that any residential customer has to go through our solar education course, and it teaches them everything they need to know about value of solar and getting solar in Austin. And so they, on that customer agreement form, they need to say, hey, I've taken this course, and that's that Solar Ed confirmation number that they will that they'll be giving over to you. So that is part of our process. So the customer agreement form addresses that, and then just make sure all the system details match up. So we require one of those for every project, and if changes to the project happen, we'll ask for an updated customer agreement form with an updated signature. And it is really important to us that the customers are signing a completed doc, that doc doesn't get altered. Afterwards, it becomes a document of record for the system. Let's go to, and any program documents you can find in EECP. Let's go to the next slide. Next slide, please. There we go. Thank you. So for our program guidelines, we do have some frequently asked questions that we are providing the answers for here. A big part of our program, especially for residential, is that Solar Ed course. So the idea that our customers are informed and they know what's going on, especially about our value of solar rate, that's going to impact their return on investment. So it's really important to us they know how that works. And typically they learn about it through the Solar Ed course. Also, hopefully our participating contractors. So the idea is, if you want to participate in our program, you know, you'll make sure that the customer takes that Solar Ed course, and you know, we would hope that they would take it before they get quotes. We understand that sometimes customers have already chosen the contractor. They already want to move forward before they take the course. However, if upon taking that course and learning about how things work in Austin Energy, they decide that they do not want to move forward, the rules of our program are, if we have not issued a letter of intent or our intent to fund, and at some point they get cold feet and they want to back out because maybe they've looked over the Solar Ed course and they're worried that your proposal doesn't, you know, doesn't adequately represent the shade that's impacting the array, or they didn't understand how value of solar worked or whatever. But if we haven't approve the project, or maybe we don't issue our agreement to fund because the system just isn't going to produce very well, right? So if we haven't said, okay, we're going to fund this project, and a customer decides they do not want to go solar for whatever reason, one of our, it's in our guidelines, one of our rules is our participating contractors have to let them go without any penalty. And this is one of the reasons too why we really strongly encourage both homeowners and contractors not to install before we have approved the rebate. So we'll send an email to you and to the customer saying, hey, we've received your application and we have reviewed and approved your application for this amount of money, right? Right now for residential, that's $2,500. If you haven't gotten that email, that means we have not approved, you know, approved your application. And it's a two-step process. So just having submitted your application isn't quite enough. And so, you know, per our guidelines and per our rules, if you want to be a participating contractor in our program, the rule is that you're supposed to let them out of the contract. Yeah, that's a big one. Okay. And then another question people ask are about subcontractors. So we certainly allow the use of electrical subcontractors. However, you know, for the purposes of our program, the participating contractor, their name has to be on the contract with the customer, and then they have to be the ones that pull all of the permits. So the permits have to be under their name, right? And then if any subcontractor is used, that needs to be disclosed on the customer agreement form. So we have a place to list that. We do have a lot of questions about our shading requirements. This isn't a big deal for all systems. If it's a sunny system that's obviously getting a lot of light, you know, those typically get pushed right through. However, if you are in a situation where you have a customer that wants to go solar, but it's really shady, please know that we may request an on-site in-person shade analysis just to demonstrate that it achieves the amount of total solar resource fraction that we need for our program. Next slide. So we also get questions about our customer agreement form. You can see here, it's a little small. I have old people's eyes. Under contractor details, there's a line for you to list the name of the subcontractor. There's, yeah, thank you. There's also a line in the agreements that's actually above this form where the customer will write, or you can write it for them, the Solar Ed course reference number. Again, that's proof that they've taken the Solar Ed exam. And then also under solar project details here on the right, you'll see the oversizing waiver. One of the things that the guideline covers is that we discourage systems to be over 110% of the historic consumption of the home. There, you know, for the rebate program purposes, if you're not going through the rebate program, this isn't an issue. But what we want to do here is make sure that customers understand how value of solar works. It's really important to note that the value of solar is a credit that goes on the bill. It doesn't get cashed out. They're not going to get a check at the end of the month. And so if their solar system for whatever reason is dramatically oversized, they're just going to get a credit that builds up on their bill and that they're not able to cash out. And even if they close their account, that credit will just disappear. So there are lots of wonderful things about value of solar. You know, one of the reasons why we have it as a credit and not something that's cashed out is that you don't ever have to pay taxes on it, right? It's not income. So there are lots of good reasons for why we do it the way that we do. But we do want homeowners to understand what they're getting into if they oversize the system. I think that covers the FAQ, the most frequently asked questions about the CAF. So we're going to move on to how to process enrollments, and Nafi is going to take you through this tour. Thanks, all.
Thanks, Val. All right. So let's here we'll talk about a few basic workflow of the different steps that you will move through as you process a rebate application in EACP. So EACP is our online platform to process solar rebated projects for all rebate programs in Austin Energy. In the energy efficiency programs, you should use EACP as well. So the best practices for user profile is to have a resource account, just a general account for the full team. And the next best practice is to have one profile per person who is working on submitting application through EACP. The worst practice is to share one single person user profile. So just make sure to use those best practices. If you have a user profile login issue, just make sure to email us at solar@austinenergy.com and we can work on to get that resolved for you as quickly as possible. Most often it's because the insurance document is expired. If the insurance document expired, you will have your account inactivated in the EACP right away. So just make sure that whenever your current insurance is coming up on its expiration, so you get that renewed and you get those new insurance documents over to us so that we can make sure it's your account is maintained and active. Also, password changes can lead to some login issues as well. So just make sure to notify us if you had any of those issues as well. Please note that if your account is not active for more than 30 days, it will be inactivated. All right, so the residential workflow steps in EACP. The first step, as you can see, is the application step, which you have the ownership of it and can edit the information. If your customers would like to apply for rebate, you should create an enrollment, mean the entering system information and upload the layout and customer agreement form, which is also known as CAF. After the application is reviewed by our processor and everything looks good, then the enrollment will move to the pre-inspection step, which the Austin Energy processor review application again and provide confirmation letter for our funding. Please note that we highly recommend not installing the system prior to issuance the LOI or letter of intent. Next is the installation step, which is the step that you have the permission to edit the measures and verify the system has been installed. In this stage, make sure to upload the invoice and warranty and process this step out of the installation. So we can finish processing the customer's rebate application. If the installed system is different than planned, Please upload new paperwork such as layout and edit measures. As long as the application is in the installation step, we cannot edit anything for you. Then you should request the inspection, but this step does not happen in ACP. You need to request inspection via austinenergy.com/go/solar-inspections through the Smartsheet. And that's an easy and flawless process that David put together. The post-inspection step is where the inspections is done and we verify the system has passed the inspection. And then the enrollment moves to the QA review step, which is the Austin processor review, the document for the last time. And this is very important that you review all the corrections that have been requested because customer is waiting for the rebate. And the last step is issuing the rebate, and this step usually takes 7 to 10 business days for customers to get their check. All right, the required documentation. Here's just some basic information on documentation that is required across each of these rebate programs that we have in the solar program to apply for all of these programs for residential, for multi-family, and for commercial. And the basic application needs to include a signed customer agreement form and a layout of the proposed system. In order to request an inspection, once the system has been installed for residential projects, the documentations that are required is here. You'll need to have your invoice and your warranty statement for multifamily and commercial projects. During watching inspection, you will need the wiring diagram, string size calculation of the final contract. We may also request a shade analysis at any point of the process or justification for oversizing a system when it is projected to produce more than 110% of the home consumption. All right, how to process an enrollment. There is a reference number, and we use this number to look back to the solar education course confirmation number. Although this number will auto-populate, but go ahead and delete that number and enter the reference number that your client gave to you. Next, you want to go to the drop-down menu and to the battery storage question. If the project has a battery, all you need to do is to fill up that section. We also would like to know if this is an addition or replacement to an existing system. If there are already panels on the site, so please let us know. And then you will go ahead and get that done. Also, we need to know if this is a new constructions or existing construction. Then the next step is to entering the account number. If you have already entered the account number, this should auto-populate here. If not, you can enter it here, and then it will pull up your customer's information. Then we have the applicants and the account holder. Your applicant needs to be either the Austin Energy account holder and authorized user on the account, which means that the account holder has said that this person can pay the bills and or they need to be listed as a property owner in TCAP. So you will see that it will pop up with the account holder and their information. When you are entering the application information, if it's easy to do so, it is really helpful. just to have that person be the same as the account holder. And if not, then we may ask for further information. Also, make sure that you enter their email addresses. It won't let you go to the next page if you don't enter the applicant email section here. And we need that for further communications with customers. Usually the mailing address will be the same as the installation address, but if for any reason it's different, we would like to check that, and you would like to a customer receive check to another different address, please make sure to fill that section out too. And the next section is the pay section. The account pay must be one of the following: the account holder, an authorized user, or the property owner. If they are not the account holder or the property owner, then what you can ask is to ask account holder to call Austin Energy and add them as an authorized user, and then we can move forward with their name on the cap. As you can see, the pay section isn't always checked, but if the applicant is the account holder in the pay section, you can just go ahead and fill in that round bubble there for an account holder or just applicant, and that definitely makes our process a little bit easier. Then as far as closing out the application page, you will want to click Save before moving to the next step, and we have our prototype here at the bottom here. As you can see, please make sure that the names are consistent. So the applicant, as you have listed on EECP, on the application page needs to be the same as the applicant name that you have on the customer agreement form. And that also needs to be the same person who signs the customer agreement form. All right, the measures section. When you're entering the orientations for your projects, please know that even if you have arrays that are separated on different surface, if they are in the same tilde and azimuth, you can enter them in just one orientation. So a lot of times you will have 3 orientations that are all the same azimuth and tilts. So we want you to enter them in one orientation. Also, the minimum tilt requirement is 5 degrees, so array tilts under 5 degrees will not be accepted. And please make sure to have the total cost in the measures to include the solar and battery cost if it's applicable. And last but not least, the application correction loop. If any changes are needed, then the processor places the application on hold with the reason code application incomplete. You will get the notification and you can go ahead and make corrections, and just make sure to save and choose the reason code required updates completed. So we will be receiving an email that the updates are completed. You don't need to email us separately. Once you have submitted your application, Austin Energy will review it, and then the letter of intent or solar confirmation letter will be sent out to the customers and contractors in about 2 to 3 weeks. I already said that. Okay, so any questions here? Good, thank you everyone. So I pass the mic to David, I guess.
All right, let's talk through the installation step in EECP, and then we'll go through the inspection stages as well. All right, so as part of the application, you'll need to submit the layout for the project. So this is a template of what the layout will look like and the information that we require to be listed on it. So it should include details that match both the application and the customer agreement form. So both the EECP measures and the customer agreement form. These include information about the system specifications like the module count, model number, as well as inverter count and model number, tilt and azimuth. Those types of measurements should all match between the layout and what's in EECP. System size, if it's listed on this layout, should also match what's in the customer agreement form in EECP. So just generally speaking, all system specifications that we require in the CAF and EECP should also be on this layout and match up. It should include your company name as well as the customer name and address. It should also have a NABCEP endorsement from a NABCEP professional. More specifically, it should be a NABCEP, a design or installation professional, somebody who's qualified to check over the designs for these PV projects. And so again, this is a good template for the type of layout we're looking for in terms of the information included, the diagram that's on the layout showing how the modules are oriented, making sure those modules are oriented in a manner that matches up with the tilt and azimuth measurements. And yes, so this is relatively what we're looking for here. Next slide, please. And this is a template of what the invoice looks like. So again, the final invoice needs to be uploaded during the installation step of the EECP workflow before you close that installation step and before you request the final inspection. So the invoice should include information that covers the company name, again, customer name, and the installation address, which again should match the EECP platform and the customer agreement form. An equipment description, so including the make, model, quantity of the solar modules and inverters. These should be listed on the CAF as well. The remaining elements do not need to be itemized. They certainly can if you would like. And also the total project cost, which should match the cost in the application in EECP. I just note again that the costs that are not eligible for the federal tax credit, as well as local incentives, those non-eligible costs need to be itemized separately here on the invoice. And again, the date of signing of the invoice and the customer signature should also be clearly represented on the final invoice that you upload as well. So if we see any discrepancies during our final review of this documentation, then we will ask for modifications at that point. All right, next slide, please. So when you have finished installing the system, and you verified that it is all good to go and is ready for inspection, and then you'll come back into EECP and you will go through these steps to close out the installation workflow step in EECP. So first, if any measurements, if any system specifications have changed during the installation, please make sure to update the measures section in EECP, and you'll go through the installation workflow step to make these updates to measures. So this is the last chance to update the measures on your end. If anything does need to change in the measures after this step is closed, we will need to make those changes on our end later. Next slide, please. So as we get to the inspection step, once you update the measures in the installation step and you've closed that out, then you'll also want to request inspection. So you'll use the solar inspection request form. There's a Austin Energy /go/solar inspections, I believe, is the quick link to get you to the inspection request form on our website. But this is the form you'll use to request all types of solar inspections, so final inspections as well as any other types of pre-installation inspections that you may need, rough inspections for conduit that you're going to be covering up, requesting pre-construction meetings with our solar inspectors before the project starts. So any type of solar inspection or energy storage inspection will go through this request form. So as you're filling it out, you'll want to make sure to fill out all the required fields that are marked by a red asterisk in this form. And additional fields will drop down depending on answers to specific questions herein. You'll submit the form online once you've finished filling it out. That goes into our inspection request queue, which we use to schedule out inspections on a daily basis. We will send you notifications. First, when the request form is submitted, we'll send you a confirmation receipt. We'll also send you additional notifications when the inspection is scheduled and when it's completed, and also if it's postponed for any reason. And note that if Austin Energy is not the service provider, so within the city of Austin, there are several other electric providers that do provide service to some residents, including PEC, Bluebonnet, Encore. So if your customer has any of those other electric providers, so we will not provide the final inspection. That final inspection will come from the city of Austin's electrical inspections team in that case. So any solar projects for non-Austin Energy customers, please make sure to go through the Austin Build and Connect permitting portal to schedule those inspections. And a reminder, make sure to request final inspection only after the work is completed and fully QA'd. This is a way to, maintain a higher inspection pass rate to make sure that you improve your chances of passing the final inspection. Just cannot emphasize enough, just making sure to have everything in order per the National Electric Code and the Distribution Interconnection Guide and design criteria before you call for that final inspection. All right, next slide, please. So once you have submitted that inspection request form, this is really done simultaneously with closing the installation workflow step in EECP. So both those steps should be taken at the same time. So you'll go in and formally close the installation step in EECP at that point, once you submit that web form. So as I mentioned a couple of slides ago, the first thing you'll do in the installation step is update any measures that changed as you were installing the system. And then on this last page here, on the main installation page, you will go through these highlighted boxes and answer fields here and fill them out. So the outcome should be work complete. I believe that should already be filled out anyway. You'll fill in the actual visit date down here with the date that you're processing the application. And also make sure to answer both of the inspection questions, which are, have measures been updated for inspection and has inspection been requested through the website? So both those answers should be yes in order to close this workflow step. And so at that point, you can go ahead and go up to this process button on the top left of the page. And that should close out the installation step, and you'll see a new post-inspection step appear in the EECP workflow. So that means that step is closed. You've taken all the actions that you need to at this point in order to make sure that your project is ready for inspection. And again, we send out notifications from our Smartsheet platform at each stage of the inspection, scheduling, and completion process. So all those emails are sent from Austin Energy Solar Inspections via Smartsheet or from one of our inspectors via Smartsheet. So please make sure to add this email address to your spam filters list of safe senders, just to make sure that these emails are not routed to your spam folder. If you ever do have any issues with receiving emails that we send from Smartsheet, please email solarinspections@austinenergy.com to let us know. I know there have been some issues with that at least for certain contractors lately, so more than happy to work with you on that and try to figure out what the issue might be in your case. All right, next slide, please. All right, and we've reached pretty much the end of this presentation. So the last couple of slides here are dedicated to helpful links about our solar programs and tools for solar contractors and customers. So these are important links to have with you as you go through the process of interacting with our programs. And then on the next couple slides, we have a list of helpful stakeholders who can address various issues that you might encounter on your solar projects. So this slide and the next one, just make sure to use this as a reference guide in case you have any questions that our solar group might not be immediately able to answer. So for instance, meter variance requests would go to our colleague Abdur. Information, if you need a temporary disconnect reconnect, you'll need to contact our dispatch team. So there are various groups at Austin Energy that handle that handle different aspects of solar projects, even though we are the main group overseeing that. So just make sure to have all these points of reference available, and as these stakeholders will be able to answer your questions about these specific topics in the left-hand column. All right, and I believe that is it. Let's just check that next slide just to make sure.